Thank you for watching the West Chicago School District 33 2016-17 Fall Data Update. Some key points to remember during the presentation is that data is used to guide instruction and planning curriculum for our teachers and administration. The data you are looking at now will help establish growth targets and goals for our staff and buildings. All of the data we look at ties directly to our school district's key district performance indicators. Those specifically are at least 50% of our students in grades 2 through 8 will meet or exceed projected growth targets in reading and math from fall to spring. The percentage of students in grades kindergarten through 2 who are proficient on the Ames Web screening measure will improve by 10% from fall to spring. The percentage of students in grades 2 through 8 who are at or better than the 50th percentile will increase by 10% from fall to spring. When talking about data, it's important to remember achievement and growth. Specifically, when talking about achievement or attainment or proficiency, we're talking about measuring students' performance at a single point in time. This relates to students' family background or demographic information. We compare students' performance to a standard, and the achievement or proficiency data is critical to students' post-secondary opportunities. When talking about growth, we're talking about measuring students' growth between 2 points in time. Growth is not related to demographics or students' family backgrounds. Growth compares students' performance to their own prior performance. This is critical to ensuring students' future academic success. Both of these provide a more complete picture of student understanding and learning. Here is a visual to help explain proficiency or student achievement. As you can see, there is one proficiency level, and when students are tested, they are either at, above, or below that proficiency. When looking at growth, we see there's 2 points in time. And when starting, some students are not proficient, and some students are above proficiency. After time, we see that some students grew and now are above proficiency, at proficiency, or below proficiency from where they started. These two scenarios help explain it even further. The first one, a 5th grade student begins the year reading at a 1st grade reading level. They end the school year reading at a 4th grade reading level. If we were talking about achievement or proficiency, we would say that student is not proficient because they are still below the 5th grade reading level. However, when we talk about growth, we see tremendous growth from the student who went from reading at a 1st grade level to reading at a 4th grade level. The second scenario has a 5th grade student beginning the year reading at a 7th grade reading level. They end the year reading at the 7th grade reading level. When we talk about proficiency or achievement or attainment, we would say that that student is in fact proficient, and even more proficient because he or she is reading 2 grade levels above the 5th grade reading level. However, when we look at growth, we see that the student had no growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the school year. Both of these scenarios help illustrate how proficiency and growth need to be looked at in combination. The first pieces of data that we will look at come out of the NWEA Measures of Academic Progress assessment. This is a growth measurement and looks at growth over time. The current data set we will look at is fall of 2015 to fall of 2016. This is not our typical growth window, which is usually fall to spring. We look at reading, which is an English assessment, and math, which is done in English and Spanish. New this year, our students will be taking the MAP Math in Spanish at 2nd grade. The assessment is computerized and adaptive. It's tailored to the student's achievement level. So when a student takes the test, it begins with a question, and then depending on how the child answers the question, it will take them to an ability level or question level appropriate to where they're at. It uses a grade-independent scale called the RIT scale or a RIT score. We use this assessment 3 times a year in grades 2 through 8. We measure this in fall, winter, and spring. After each assessment, NWEA creates a growth target for the next testing window based on the national norm group. You will also see in the upcoming charts something called the conditional growth percentile. This is a national percentile based upon the norm group growth in the same period. The first set of data you see here is the elementary fall math. From left to right, you will see 2nd grade only containing 2 bars. The reason for that is because we only test 2nd grade through 8th. And so we do not have a comparison for our current 2nd graders because of the fact that they did not take this assessment as 1st graders. The light blue bar on all of these charts corresponds to our students' mean RIT. The mean is the average of all of our students who have taken that assessment. So in 2nd grade, this past fall, 170 RIT score was the mean RIT for our 2nd graders in math. The national mean RIT was 177. If you look at the difference between the 170 and the 177, that essentially is the attainment or the achievement gap that our students have when looking at other 2nd graders across the nation who take the same assessment. When going then from 3rd, 4th to 5th grade, you will see 2 sets of bars. Because of the 3rd graders having taken this assessment in 2nd grade, 4th graders in 3rd grade, and 5th graders in 4th grade, we have a measure to look at from last fall and a measure to this fall. Once again, the light blue bars represent the local, our students' mean RIT, and the dark blue bar is the national norm mean RIT. The first 2 bars are from 2015, and the second 2 bars are from 2016. The next set of bars on the graph represent the percentile of students who met their growth target. So, in looking at 3rd grade, from fall of 2015 to fall of 2016, 45% of our students from 2nd to 3rd grade met the expected growth from fall to fall. 39 in the light green bar represents the conditional growth percentile. What that says is that 39% of our students, or I should say, our students are in the 39th percentile compared to the national norm group of 3rd graders from fall of 2015 to fall of 2016 in mathematics. That number is significant because it shows our growth compared to other students nationally. It is important to highlight in 4th and 5th grade, we see this national norm percentile at 69% and 66%, showing that our students in 4th and 5th grade in elementary math grew at or better than 69% students nationally in 4th grade and 66% nationally of students in 5th grade. Here is our middle school math data. Once again, you see the growth from fall of 2015 to fall of 2016 represented in the 2 sets of bars. The dark green bar represents the percentage of students who met the growth target from fall to fall, and the light green bar represents the national percentile comparison for growth for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in math nationally. These two tables represent the data that was just presented prior, but shows it in a different format. You see the grades in math and the grades in reading, and then the norm, mean, RIT for all of our students in the district, next to the norm, mean, RIT nationally. The first column next to the grade level is the national norm, mean, RIT. The second column is the district mean RIT. We've highlighted 2 grade levels in reading that stand out. And the reason why we do is because we wanted to show how the gap decreased going from 2nd grade, where the gap was 12 RIT points between the national norm and our students, to 3 points in 8th grade. That is the type of trajectory we want to see our students achieve. In terms of math and steps we're taking at the district level, our professional learning communities and faculty meeting times are centered around understanding the data and using it to guide instruction. Our MTSS, or Multi-Tiered System of Supports manual, is being shared with staff for rollout next school year. This is the way to support students who are struggling in math, behavior, and reading. Specifically at the elementary level in math, we've done extensive curriculum revisions to align with the new mathematical practices in Common Core. Specifically, we've looked at Eureka math programming from kindergarten through 5th grade in both Spanish and English. As was stated prior, we're using the Spanish MAP math assessment at 2nd grade and is available to students all the way up through 8th grade. Specifically at the middle school, we're investigating matching instructional time in mathematics to meet the same number of minutes as is done in the elementary. Now we'll look at reading. Once again, 2nd grade you see only one set of data because as 2nd graders they did not take the assessment as 1st graders. The light blue bar on all of these corresponds to our students' mean RIT. So for 3rd grade, last year as 2nd graders, their mean RIT was 165. The national mean RIT as 2nd graders was 175. You see then the fall of 2016, as 3rd graders now, the mean RIT was 177 for our students, and the national mean RIT was 188. The next 2 bars are significant to point out because of the fact that nearly all of our grade levels reached the goal of 50% of students meeting their growth target. Even more significant is the conditional growth percentile. Specifically, when you look at 4th grade and 5th grade in reading, our students were at the 69th percentile for growth at 4th grade for reading and 87th percentile in 5th grade for reading. We then look at middle school reading. Once again, we want to highlight the 2 green bars. All of our students at the middle school met the 50% meeting or exceeding the growth target goal, and all 3 grade levels had conditional growth percentiles that were significant. Some of the steps we're taking when it comes to reading are, once again, our professional learning communities and faculty meeting times are centered around understanding data and using it to guide instruction. Once again, our multi-tiered system of supports manual is being shared with staff this year for rollout next school year. Specifically at the elementary level, we see our biliteracy and dual language programming continue to expand. We also see our literacy coaches at every school being trained under the biliteracy district model. Specifically at the middle school, we're investigating the use of thematic units and planning across all content areas. The next set of data we'll be looking at is Ames Web fluency and numerical data. Ames Web is a benchmark assessment or an achievement or attainment measure. This is a short entry point assessment, taking anywhere from 1 to 8 minutes. It's standardized at each grade level and establishes proficiency levels per grade level. This looks at different students year to year, as opposed to the NWA or MAP data, which we just looked at, which measures the same students from one point to another. Specifically, we look at reading fluency, both in Spanish and English, letter sound fluency, number identification, and math computation. The first set of data we'll look at is kindergarten letter sound fluency. The National Reading Panel has identified some critical pre-reading skills that should be assessed in kindergarten and early grade 1, including phonemic awareness and elements of phonics. The ability to fluently identify letters and letter sounds are two indicators of reading ability. This is an English language probe. It looks at individual letter sounds, not the naming of the letter. From left to right, you see our 2015 proficiency levels, then our 2016 proficiency levels. The next two sets of data represent the growth from 2015 to 2016 in proficiency levels for students who are known as Limited English Proficient, which is a state label. Here is an example of letter sound fluency practice. The next set of data we'll be looking at is the kindergarten mid-A letter sound fluency. This requires students to provide as many of the sounds associated with lowercase letters as they can in 1 minute. Once again, letters which are unique to the Spanish language are included, and those which are not indigenous to Spanish are excluded. This is a Spanish language probe. Once again, we're looking for individual letter sounds, not the naming of the letter. Once again, you see two sets of data here. The first representing all students in 2015 and then 2016, and then those students who are known as Limited English Proficient in 2015 and 2016. Here is an example of the mid-A letter sound fluency probe. The next set of data we'll be looking at is the kindergarten number identification. This year we've adjusted the probe to better reflect the Common Core expectations and also to allow for growth from fall to spring. What this means is instead of looking at 0 to 10 as the indicator, we are asking to look at 0 through 20. This is typically a first grade benchmark. We're also allowing answers in either Spanish or English to accommodate our population. Here is an example of the Ames Web number identification. The next piece of data we'll be looking at is the first grade Ames nonsense word fluency. According to the National Reading Panel, the role of nonsense word fluency as a part of phonics practice is a valuable part of decoding. Students need to learn to use the letters and their sounds alone to arrive at word pronunciations. Good readers examine every letter and resolve every word. When a word is used in the context of a sentence or picture, then students do not necessarily need to use the letters to do the decoding. In this set of data, we're looking at just English speakers and English as a second language students. This is used as a predictor of overall decoding and understanding or meaning. The first set of data is 2015, and the second set of data is 2016. Here we're highlighting the increase in proficiency from 48% to 56%. Here is an example of the AIMS Nonsense Word Fluency Probe. The next set of data we'll be looking at is the first grade mid-A syllable reading fluency. Whereas English written language builds from the phoneme, the Spanish language, both oral and written, builds from the syllable unit. Children in Spanish-speaking countries learn to read syllables first and then to combine those syllables in order to read words in connected text. The ability to hear syllable divisions in spoken words and to manipulate syllables in oral and written vocabulary is a foundational skill for both reading and written language success. This is the Spanish equivalent to nonsense word fluency. The first set of data that you will see is all of our students in Dual 1 and Dual 2 language programming. The second set of data is our Spanish speakers with English students from Gary pulled out from the data. Here is an example of the mid-A syllable reading fluency probe. The next set of data we'll be looking at is the first grade Ames Web Reading Fluency Probe. Oral reading is a 1-minute standardized measure of oral reading of graded passages which are administered to students individually. Accuracy and the amount of words read per minute are considered. There is a strong correlation to comprehension. The first set of data you will see is all first grade students. The second set of data you will see is our dual language and our English as a second language students. For first graders, Ames Web recommends not doing this in the fall, but because our data is needed to measure growth and for evaluation purposes, we administered it in the fall. Here is an example of the probe. This is oral reading fluency, but measured in Spanish as opposed to English. The next sets of data you'll see is for our second and third grade, again, reading fluency, specifically in Spanish. This measures reading fluency in Spanish, and the data below reflects our current dual one-way programming, and also our students in Dual 1 and Dual 2. The first two sets of data are our second graders, and the second sets of data are our third graders. The next set of data you'll see is our first grade math computation through Ames Web. Students have a mixed set of basic addition and subtraction problems and have 8 minutes to solve. The first set of data you'll see is all of our students, and the second set of data is our limited English proficiency students only. This is an end of the year target or goal, hence the low percentile. Here is an example of a math computation probe. Coming soon, you will have state report card results presented to our board, along with our state-mandated PARCC assessment scores and comparisons to other districts. In the winter, we'll be coming back to look at our growth on the measures of academic progress assessment presented here. Thank you for tuning in.